Hey guys. So we actually have some pretty easy, quick stuff to get through today. First thing that I wanted to point out to you guys, by the way, I am not sharing my screen with you, so there should be no lag. So if you have questions, let me know. The first thing I wanted to share with you guys is I posted in the Google Classroom. It says, I want to let everyone know that this is the last week of live stream. So I will be live streaming today, like right now. And then I'll be live streaming on Friday from 2:30 to 3. Today we are going to read, well, I'm going to read to you the fun they had. And then on Friday, I will go over the questions that go along with the short story. And then a quick note on that, when you guys start answering the questions for the fun they had, I do want you to answer the research and the notebook questions because I think they are good questions. And I want you guys to make sure you're getting as much reading and all that good stuff in. And then on Friday, I will go over the questions from the Fun They Had packet. And then so next week, we are not doing any live streams next week, but I know I assigned you guys the Calvin and Hobbes reading and questions. So next Tuesday on the 26th, I'm going to post a video of me reading the comics and going over the questions for you. I will post it to the YouTube channel and I will also post it to the Google Classroom, but it will not be live. So keep that in mind. If you have questions, you'll have to email me or comment on the video. But then for office hours, because I'm still going to do those, this week I am doing office hours at 11 a.m. tomorrow. I'll probably stick around from 11 to 11:30. And then on Wednesday, the 27th, I will be doing office hours again from 11 a.m. to 11:30. So those are just the quick announcements that I have for you guys. Let me bounce back over here. And if you guys are watching right now, because it says there's 2 of you, drop your name in the chat box so I can give you guys credit for being here, because I don't want anyone to miss out on attendance points or something because they forgot to put their name. But this is the short story that we are going to start today. It's only 3-ish, 4 pages. So I'm going to read this to you guys today. We will go over the questions for it on Friday. But if you guys have any questions between now and then, let me know. And I know I just said it, but don't forget, I'll be doing office hours tomorrow at 11 a.m. And then you guys, I will post the link to the office hours in the Google Classroom. So if you don't have the link or you can't find the link, I'll post it around around 10:55 in the morning. So we're going to read the fun they had. Background. New methods of learning have been influenced by changes in technology. During ancient times, the Romans wrote on wax tablets. Children in the 1700s read and practiced writing on slates or blackboards. In the 1900s, educational radio programs were introduced. In today's society, online education has become popular. Margie even wrote about it that night in her diary. On the page headed May 17th, 2155, she wrote, "Today Tommy found a real book. It was a very old book. Margie's grandfather once said that when he was a little boy, his grandfather told him that there was a time when all stories were printed on paper. They turned the pages, which were yellow and crinkly, and it was awfully funny to read words that stood still instead of moving the way they were supposed to, on a screen, you know. And then, when they turned back to the page before, it had the same words on it that it had had when they read it the first time." "Gee," said Tommy, "what a waste. When you're through with the book, you just throw it away, I guess. Our television screen must have had 1,000,000 books on it, and it's good for plenty more. I wouldn't throw it away." "Same with mine," said Margie. She was 11 and hadn't seen as many telebooks as Tommy had. He was 13. She said, "Where did you find it?" "In my house." He pointed without looking because he was busy reading. "In the attic." "What's it about?" "School." Margie was scornful. "School? What's there to write about school? I hate school." Margie always hated school, but now she hated it more than ever. The mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, and she had been doing worse and worse until her mother had shaken her head sorrowfully and sent for the county inspector. So if you guys are paying attention to this part, the teacher is actually a robot, and they think that because Margie's doing worse, that they sent for an inspector to look at the robot teacher to make sure that it wasn't something going wrong with like the program. He was a round little man with a red face and a whole box of tools with dials and wires. He smiled at her and gave her an apple, then took the teacher apart. Margie had hoped he wouldn't know how to put it together again, but he knew how all right, and after an hour or so, there it was again, large and ugly, with a big screen on which all the lessons were shown and the questions were asked. That wasn't so bad. The part she hated most was the slot where she had to put homework and test papers. She always had to write them out in a punch code. They made her learn when she was 6 years old, and the mechanical teacher calculated the mark in no time. The inspector had smiled after he was finished and patted her head. He said to her mother, "It's not the little girl's fault, Mrs. Jones. I think the geography sector was geared a little too quick. Those things happen sometimes. I've slowed it up to an average 10-year level. Actually, the overall pattern of her progress is quite satisfactory," and he patted Margie's head again. Margie was disappointed. She had been hoping they would take the teacher away altogether. They had once taken Tommy's teacher away for nearly a month because the history sector had blanked out completely. So she said to Tommy, "Why would anyone write about school?" Tommy looked at her with very superior eyes. "Because it's not our kind of school, stupid. This is the old kind of school that they had hundreds and hundreds of years ago." He added loftily, pronouncing the word carefully, "centuries ago." Margie was hurt. "Well, I don't know what kind of school they had all that time ago." She read the book over his shoulder for a while, then said, "Anyway, they had a teacher." Sure, they had a teacher, but it wasn't a regular teacher. It was a man. A man? How could a man be a teacher? Well, he just told the boys and girls things and gave them homework and asked them questions. A man isn't smart enough. Sure he is. My father knows as much as my teacher. He can't. A man can't know as much as a teacher. He knows almost as much, I betcha. Margie wasn't prepared to dispute that. She said, "I wouldn't want a strange man in my house to teach me." Tommy screamed with laughter. "You don't know how much, Margie. The teachers didn't live in the house. They had a special building and all the kids went there." "And all the kids learned the same thing?" "Sure, if they were the same age. But my mother says a teacher has to be adjusted to fit the mind of each boy and girl it teaches, and that each kid has to be taught differently. Just the same, they didn't do it that way then. If you don't like it, you don't have to read the book." "I didn't say I liked it," Margie said quickly. She wanted to read about those funny schools. They weren't even half finished when Margie's mother called. "Margie, school." Margie looked up. "Not yet, Mama." "Now," said Mrs. Jones, "and it's probably time for Tommy, too." Margie said to Tommy, "Can I read the book some more with you after school?" "Maybe," he said nonchalantly. He walked away whistling, the dusty old book tucked beneath his arm. Margie went into the schoolroom. It was right next to her bedroom, and the mechanical teacher was on and waiting for her. It was always on at the same time every day except Saturday and Sunday, because her mother said little girls learn better if they learned at regular hours. The screen was lit up and it said, "Today's arithmetic lesson is on the addition of proper fractions. Please insert yesterday's homework in the proper slot." Margie did so with a sigh. She was thinking about the old schools they had when her grandfather's grandfather was a little boy. All the kids from the whole neighborhood came, laughing and shouting in the schoolyard, sitting together in the schoolroom, going home together at the end of the day. They learned the same things so they could help one another on the homework and talk about it. And the teachers were people. The mechanical teacher was flashing on the screen. When we add the fractions 1/2 and 1/4, Margie was thinking about how the kids must have loved the old days. She was thinking about the fun they had. Okay, so that is the end of the short story. Hello, David. I saw that you said you were here. But that is the end of the short story. I'm going to go over the questions for the short story, like I said, on Friday. But in the meantime, if you guys have any questions, let me know and I'll answer them for you. Two more things I wanted to remind you guys of. You also have a writing prompt that goes along with this week and next week. You guys will handwrite everything on these sheets, and then you can use the back. I think, gave you extra blank line paper for you to write on. But the prompt says, how do you define technology? Is technology used for entertainment, or can it be used to make our lives easier? Do you think it makes our lives harder? Give examples. Do you think things like cars, radios, walkie-talkies, and microwaves are considered technology? Why or why not? If you run out of space, feel free to use the back of this worksheet. So just give me your definition of technology. Is it something that's computerized? Is it something that makes your life easier? Whatever you guys consider technology to be. As crazy as this sounds, like bicycles can be considered technology because we didn't have those at one point. Is technology used for entertainment, or can it be used to make our lives easier? Personally, I think it's both, because we have, laptops, tablets, TVs, computers. Those can all be for entertainment purposes, but they can also be make our lives easier. Like, for example, when you guys were just doing your research papers, you guys were able to just Google, like, if you wanted to do something about like an astronaut, you could just Google the history of astronauts instead of going to a library, finding books on astronauts, reading those books, finding out that the books don't include the information that you need. So I think laptops make our lives more entertaining and a little bit easier. Do you think it makes our lives harder? One thing to keep in mind when you guys answer that question, how many times have you relied on your laptop or your Chromebook or something and it broke, and then you have to figure out a new way to do something? Or think of like when a car breaks down. Like, cars are technically technology too. We didn't always have those. So imagine your car breaks down and you're in the middle of nowhere. So do you think things like cars, radios, walkie-talkies, and microwaves are considered technology? I really want to hear your guys' opinion on microwaves, because those have not been around forever. I remember Mr. Murray one day in class, I don't know if it was with your group, or if it was with the 7th or 8th grade, but he was talking about how his grandmother was like absolutely terrified to use the microwave because she didn't really know what it was. There might even be, I know Mr. Murray's a little bit older than you guys, but there might be things that your parents didn't have when they were growing up, that we have now. Like, I know, for example, my mom, she didn't have a cell phone when she was my age, but now I have one, and most everyone has one. So just keep those in mind when you are writing the answer to writing prompt number 1. One last announcement for you guys. Your research papers were due on Friday at 11:59 at midnight. Half of you turned in a research paper to me. The other half of you didn't. So if you guys still need time to finish your paper, that's fine. I just need to know so that I don't give you a 0 on your assignment because I didn't know that you were still working on it. The other thing too, make sure when you are in the Google Classroom, you actually hit the turn it in button so that I can see it and read it and give you a grade. But I'm going to be grading the research papers today and tomorrow. One thing to keep in mind, if you guys are doing the like offline packet, and you didn't turn your paper into the Google Classroom, your grades will be updated as you turn your packets in next week. So if you get a 0 in the grade book saying, no, I never turned in my research paper, but I get it next week, your grade will be updated. So just keep that in mind. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. Remember, I will be doing office hours tomorrow from probably 11 to 11:30. If people want me to stay later, I always can. And remember, if you guys have any questions, you can email me, comment on videos, text me in the Remind classroom. But today's your guys' last Monday of the school year, so that's kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, that is all I have for you guys. I will see you guys either tomorrow at 11 for office hours, or I will see you on Friday at 2:30. Bye.